Good afternoon and welcome to the Virtually Speaking podcast. My name is Pete Fletcher, and joining me as usual is my good friend, Mr. John Nicholson. John, how you doing, buddy?
Good. I'm doing my end of year audit.
Okay. Oh yeah, it is that time, isn't it?
Well, I try to audit all the subscriptions we have in our house and figure out, are we really using Netflix that much? Can we downgrade Hulu to the ad tier? Okay, Disney Plus clearly is a favorite. I can't get rid of that one. The toddlers will throw a mutiny and throw me off the balcony.
What about Hulu? You got Hulu Plus?
Or
Hulu Plus,
See,
plus,
Hulu,
plus?
we've just gone down to the ad tier, but
Yeah,
I still have the ESPN Plus because I'm a sucker for watching competitive dodgeball or whatever gets put on there.
Yeah, absolutely. Very nice. All right. Yeah. Well, John, listen, we can talk about all these subscriptions. VMware has their own subscriptions. Absolutely. And heck, we announced the big one back in July. vSphere Plus was announced back in July. And just if you're on the interwebs, you may have noticed that there was a blog that just came out talking about vSphere Plus standard that just went GA. So we brought on one of the main experts when it comes to vSphere Plus, Mr. Himanshu Singh. Himanshu, how you doing?
Doing very well. Great to be back on this podcast. It was not too long ago we were chatting about vSphere Plus, and I get to talk about a little bit more about that. So great to be back with you guys.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I know we all have fun with the naming. I know it's been interesting, and there's been a lot of different names out there for even for VMware. I mean, we can go into a couple of those, but it just reminds me when John was talking about like his Plus subscription, Disney Plus, and have you guys ever seen that Hulu commercial that talks about the?
I have. I know exactly the one you're talking about.
Here's the problem, team. Nobody knows what Hulu Plus Live TV is.
What if we change the name?
Give me something. No bad ideas. Let's go.
Super Hulu.
Bad idea.
Hulu Bold.
No.
Hulu Plus Live TV Plus.
Yeah, everybody's kind of doing the plus thing after the name.
What if we call it Hulu Plus Live TV Plus Plus Plus?
You're saying 3 pluses? That's what you're saying? That's dumb, but we're going to go with it.
I can't imagine how some of these names come up. It is pretty crazy.
Yeah, I think that ad was the inspiration for our naming, and we just completely follow. This is the industry standard now.
I like it though. So maybe if you haven't seen it, we did have Himanshu on talking about vSphere Plus, but maybe just for the benefit of this conversation, maybe we can just start at a high level, sort of what is vSphere Plus and why do we care about it, and then we can move on to what was announced recently with vSphere Plus standard.
Yeah, so vSphere Plus, we brought it out. We announced it end of June. We came out in July timeframe, and already we're seeing massive adoption from the customers, a lot of excitement and everything. The core idea, of course, of vSphere Plus is you've got your existing vSphere-based environment, right? A distributed multi-vCenter type of environment. You have to manage it in silos, etc. Also, if it's on-prem, you're kind of thinking about, hey, do I need to move this to the public cloud and that kind of stuff? And hey, these workloads, I really want to keep them on-prem for whatever reasons, right? Whether it is a latency thing or a performance thing or cost related or whatever it might be, or regulatory, for example. And you're kind of wondering, well, so these workloads are going to be like left behind, and that's what we're trying to avoid. We're trying to basically say, you don't have to, have the cloud connectivity or cloud services be only restricted to workloads that are physically in the public cloud. We can have all that. You can have the central management of your entire vSphere estate, multi-vCenter distributed environment from one place, from this cloud console that vSphere Plus delivers to you. And then you can have all these hybrid cloud services, SaaS services that you can actually consume through the cloud console. So it gives you that all the benefits of the cloud without having to do any kind of migration, without having to do any kind of disruption for your workloads, for your hosts, etc. All you do is you connect your vCenters to the cloud console, and then you can manage it all centrally. Your admins have a variety of new services that they can actually consume to manage the environment overall, whether it is from an inventory perspective, troubleshooting perspective, security, et cetera, et cetera. You can purchase additional add-on services on top if you're looking for example, DR as a service, if you're looking for ransomware protection, if you're looking for capacity optimization, capacity planning, stuff like that. So that's the whole idea of making sure that the workloads that are on premises are on par with everything that's kind of you're moving to the cloud, and so that helps you in terms of your overall multi-cloud strategy and be able to make sure that there's more parity across your workloads in terms of the things that really matter, right? So super high level, that's what vSphere Plus is all about.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, you're not moving workloads. Just the actual control, the cloud console is what's in the cloud, and that gives you the ability to do all of those administrative things that you just mentioned. Okay, that makes sense. So that was announced in back in July, and that makes perfect sense. And I know for a fact that the customers that are going on to vSphere Plus, just from internally, I know they're growing. So this is definitely something that's been resonating with a lot of the on-prem customers at VMware. So you just wrote a blog that talks about vSphere Standard. So vSphere Plus Standard. So what exactly is vSphere Plus Standard?
Yeah, so the one of the key things that we learned, like as we got feedback from customers, was that customers have chosen or are choosing specific editions of vSphere depending on the type of workload that they're running, right? And that means that most of our customers have a mixed edition environment when it comes to vSphere. So they're using vSphere Standard for certain things, and they're using vSphere Enterprise Plus for basically all the kind of business critical workloads, etc. Right? And so when we have vSphere Plus, it's very easy transition. And I'll talk about something called the sub program, the subscription upgrade program. We can go into that a little bit more. But we've made it very easy for customers to go from vSphere Enterprise Plus to vSphere Plus, right? And be able to manage all that together. However, then you've got the vSphere Standard environment that's also there. And for those specific licenses or editions, it's a bit of a jump to go from vSphere Standard to vSphere Plus. A lot of the capabilities might be, not really needed for those workloads because customers have figured out they don't really need Ent Plus for it, so they don't really need vSphere Plus level capabilities. All the Tanzu stuff, for example, all the developer benefits and DevOps benefits, etc. So for those workloads, we're introducing, that are running on vSphere Standard, we're now introducing vSphere Plus Standard. So, hence the kind of the name parity there, and you can easily move from the vSphere Standard to vSphere Plus Standard. The key thing there is you can get all the benefits that we just talked about, like the benefits of cloud services, the centralized management. So now you've got no addition left behind, essentially, right? All your entire vSphere based footprint can now be connected to that one cloud console and have like really full on central management. And so, I'm glad we, acted very quickly based on customer feedback, and we were able to bring this new edition of vSphere Plus Standard to market, as soon as we did.
So, from a feature difference, this is for the most part on parity with the cloud capabilities that were added with vSphere Plus and the otherwise on-prem features of the traditional vSphere Standard SKU. I did notice a couple small differences. I think the cloud consumption interface was only a vSphere Plus. Are there any others specifically you can call out or think of?
Yeah, so if you think about what's really included in vSphere Plus Standard, right? So you've got the core kind of vSphere Standard, and you've got vCenter Standard as well. Because as we brought these new Plus SKUs out, the idea is that you don't have to buy vCenter separately like you had to before. It's just part of the subscription. You can just have unlimited number of vCenters that you really need, right? So it basically takes that additional.
Don't say unlimited. Pete's going to go deploy like 400 in our.
You can go to
Jenkins
town.
go
Absolutely.
deploy 400 vCenters because
And
he
you
can
get a
now.
vCenter, and you get a vCenter.
Exactly. Look under your chair. There's a vCenter.
One
right
vCenter
there.
per child initiative is starting today at the local
Exactly.
school.
So yeah, that's the idea, right? Because the point is, customers need a certain number of vCenters, and the whole point is use that at whatever granularity makes sense to you. Connect it into the cloud console and use that as your central, control plane, essentially. There will be certain things that you will still might want to go down into the vCenter to manage, like you do today. So you still have access, right? When you connect to the cloud console, it doesn't mean that your VC access goes away or anything like that. You have that. This is the whole point of this is absolutely non-disruptive to what you're doing today. You add a layer on top and access on top. So essentially, there's no change to your hosts, there's no change to your workloads. All you're doing is connecting your VCs into this cloud console, and with that, there's no migration, no lift and shift, no refactoring to get the benefits of the cloud, right? Now, coming back to what you were saying, John, earlier about what's included in vSphere Plus standard, right? So it starts with vSphere standard. It includes vCenter standard. It includes the connectivity into Cloud Console. It includes all the admin services that come with it. You can, buy add-on services that you want, etc. as well. What it does not have is things like Tanzu Kubernetes Grid, Tanzu Mission Control Essentials, etc. It does not come with, and consequently, because of the dependency on TKG, does not come with Cloud Consumption Interface or CCI, which is some of the new things that we brought out with the latest release of vSphere with vSphere 8. And so that's only available as vSphere Plus at this point in time. Let me see if there's a couple other things that come to mind. In general, if you look at the core benefit, it's about the connectivity. It's about the additional capabilities that the admin can get. The essentially because of the Tanzu stuff not being included, the DevOps persona doesn't get really directly addressed as part of vSphere Plus standard. But again, we know that the certain type of workloads that are using vSphere Plus or vSphere standard at so far, you're not going to typically need that. If you do, we can always have that conversation in terms of what exactly are you running there. But the idea is it meets the needs of the customers who are running those mixed edition environments, which is most of our customers at this point in time, right? Especially on the enterprise side of things, larger customers, generally you have a mixed edition environment, and so it addresses that need. And so the simple thing that it does is it makes sure that it brings all the entire footprint that you have under one single Cloud Console.
Okay. And you mentioned something a minute ago that I don't know if everybody's familiar with. You said SUP, S-U-P. So
yes.
What exactly is SUP?
Well, SUP,
What's up?
So,
yeah.
Exactly. So SUP is a subscription upgrade program. So what we did was, again, in the idea of easy to make this easy to adopt, make it frictionless, SUP is a program where you can basically take your existing licenses of vSphere Enterprise Plus and upgrade them into vSphere Plus, or now you can take the licenses of your vSphere Standard and upgrade them into vSphere Plus standard subscription, essentially. So you don't have to manage your license keys and all that stuff anymore. You move into a subscription environment, essentially. And the big benefit of that is with the subscription upgrade program, you only have to pay for, because you're moving the core metric of how we price this and how we consume this from per CPU to per core. It's basically now the industry standard in this case, right? So moving from a perpetual license per CPU model to a subscription based per core metric model in this case. And so let's say you've got the server that you have running has a couple of sockets on it, and the CPU is maybe 24 cores each, right? So for that 24 core CPU, what we've done is, as part of the subprogram, you only have to pay for 16 cores, and you don't have to pay for the additional 8 cores that are on that particular CPU. And so you use this program for an easy adoption, kind of looking at where people are in general. 16 seem to be kind of the average, and seem to be the number where most folks are. So if you have a denser CPU in this case, you can very easily use the program and get the benefit of some of that savings, essentially, because all you have to do is pay for the 16 cores, and the rest of the cores are basically included without any additional fee. Of course, as you get to you can buy 1, 3, 5-year kind of terms for the subscription, and as you get to renewal at the end of your term, at that point, then it becomes a true up, because then you look at, okay, what's your overall footprint, and you pay for the actual number of cores. But for the initial term, and you can make use of this program to make sure that you're only paying for 16, no matter how many cores you have in that CPU.
Well, that's really impressive, and that kind of goes against. I'd seen some noise on the Twitter sphere where people were saying that every software company who moves you to subscription is going to use it to triple your costs or something. But being able to kind of come in under a safe harbor, and pay for just 16 cores, even if you have, like you say, 24 there, lock down, a multi-year, a 3 or 5 year commitment there. You could basically lock in your pricing for 5 years, and then honestly, at the end of 5 years, when I'm replacing core for core, they're going to be so much more powerful that hopefully, I should be either I'm running a hell of a lot more workloads, so fine, I'll pay more, or I'm consolidating more aggressively, and I can put that savings into putting it into other automation tools or other things on the VMware catalog. So honestly, it looks like that kind of disarms a lot of that, again, kind of noise I've heard that transitions to subscription have to be painful by definition.
Yeah, we're trying to make it as seamless as possible, as non-painful as possible, as non-disruptive as possible for customers, right? So that's kind of the idea behind it. I'm sure we're not perfect, of course. So there'll be some things where we can find reasons that they may not be super optimal. But again, uh, I think the team across our product marketing team, across the engineering and product management team, from a feature perspective and making sure that the onboarding is easy, and from our packaging, pricing team, etc., they kind of made sure that they have this program in place. Just make it again simple and easy and to adopt, essentially, so that it's not a painful decision. It's one of those where why wouldn't you, right? It's going to be you're saving compared to if you just look at if you're running Enterprise Plus and you have a renewal coming up. You should absolutely talk to your sales rep, a VMware sales rep, and talk to them about just do a basic price comparison. And what you'll find is that it's the value that you have, especially as part of the sub program, in the net new capabilities that are not included today in your Enterprise Plus, like all these things that we talked about with vSphere Plus, whether it is the admin services, DevOps services, Tanzu capabilities, Cloud Console. None of that is part of the Enterprise Plus today. You get all of that, and you have cost savings on top of it as well. So absolutely, if you have a renewal coming up, or even if you don't have a renewal coming up, pretty soon, have that conversation with your VMware sales rep, because you're going to be very glad you did.
Yeah, it seems like not only VMware, but in general, a subscription service seems to be a win-win. I think it's a really good model, but I think customers are really benefiting from it, as John is from his Discovery Plus and his Hulu Plus Plus Plus. But I think it makes sense, and I think customers should definitely talk to their sales reps about it. But where else can people go to learn more? Because I know it's a much deeper conversation than that. Just understanding sort of like what features are involved in the various versions, sort of like who does this make sense for in terms of VMware customers, and so like what's a good way to actually start this discovery process for folks?
Yeah, I would say to learn more about this, the easiest place to go is just go to vSphereplus.com, right? And again, instead of giving you a URL that's like vmware.com/something/something else slash one more thing,
/+++ / yeah.
Exactly, right? So it's just vSphereplus.com, vSphereplus.com. Go to that site. It'll have the information on what's going on in terms of key benefits, what are the key use cases, why would it make sense for you or not, right? Hopefully that's not most folks will find value in that. And then if you're really looking for, this is one of those things that one of the key assets we know customers are looking a lot at is the product line comparison document that we have on the website. It should be right up front, or go to the resources section. It's in there as well, and that gives you the clear comparison of at a high level, and then also at a very granular level, of what exactly the lay of the land looks like in terms of what's included in capabilities, etc., across. And now we have this situation where you have the perpetual license SKUs of vSphere Plus and of vSphere Standard and vSphere Enterprise Plus, right? So the good old perpetual licenses that we've had for a long time. We've also introduced the ones that we're just talking about, these cloud connected subscriptions of vSphere Plus and now also vSphere Plus Standard, right? What we've also done in this case, because there are customers, again, whole thing is all about listening to customers. There are customers who are not able to connect to the cloud, for example. They've got environments that need to be air gapped. They're not allowed to connect out complete at all. For those customers, there are SKUs that are still, you can still get the benefit of the subscription model, etc., and some of the additional capabilities with Tanzu, etc., without being without having that cloud connectivity though. So those are what we're calling as our term license SKUs or on-premises subscription, if that makes sense. And those are again vSphere Enterprise Plus and vSphere Standard are available as part of that subscription without the cloud connectivity as well. If you're in that situation where you're not, your organization does not allow connectivity kind of into the cloud. But again, the big benefit, of course, is with vSphere Plus Standard, and being able to manage their entire environment from that cloud console.
Yeah. I would imagine that there are some environments where there are certain workloads that can't be maybe connected to the internet, and that wouldn't, and so therefore regular vSphere Plus would not work. But they probably have other workloads that can connect. So I would imagine there might be some scenarios where there's a bit of a hybrid in terms of approach for this.
Yeah, you could still use kind of the old school or existing model of just managing your vCenter based environment like you do today. So you could still do that with these term license SKUs, so the on-premises subscriptions, for example, and then for the ones that you're able to still kind of connect to the cloud from a management perspective, you can use the cloud connected subscriptions essentially. Keep in mind. Everything stays on premises. There's no migration to the cloud. So, sometimes when you keep talking about cloud connected, you're like, oh, so you might keep making me move? Nope. This is for your on-premises subscriptions, on-premises workloads rather. And there's no migration, no lift and shift. It's just a matter of adding connectivity to the cloud console.
Yeah. I'm sure that's probably one of the more common questions you have to answer ad nauseum. Really, people are just like, as many times as you say it, it's like, oh, but this is going to be in the cloud then? No. Yeah. The console's in the cloud, not your workload. Yes. Yeah. I'm sure that gets...
I mean, we do a great job of confusing people with our product names and edition names and all the different versions. I mean, I rattled out like 6 of them just now. So, if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, go to the website, look at that document. It's just going to make things much simpler and easier. And it's just right in front of you. And you can have that table which compares everything, right? It's just a lot simpler to look at a document versus just listening to me talk and confusing you.
I've been looking at this document through this entire podcast, and it definitely has made this a lot less confusing for me. So otherwise, I'm like,
that's why John's got like this
plus go on the left or the right of the word. Like, you know what? I'm going to look at this document instead.
Nice. Yeah, it definitely helps. Yeah. So that's vSphere vSphere. What is it? VMware. Link below, that's for sure. I'll put it in the show notes of this podcast as well as on the screen here for those watching the video. Very cool, Himanshu. This is it seems like this is the direction that VMware is going. I mean, the subscription, it makes a lot of sense, and I think it's worth taking a look at. So thank you for giving us all this good information. Thanks also for your very informative blog. John, anything else before we land this plane?
No, I think this is simple. I just want the vSphere Plus. I'm not going to run a mixed environment. I'm gonna keep this simple, and then I'll run some VDI VMs and stream Netflix or Hulu.
Very nice.
Argue with my wife about which one we're keeping. Probably Curiosity Stream and Nebula. That's really where I'm going to consolidate my streaming subscriptions.
Perfect.